Hare Krishna. Are there any devotees on the call? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Govardhana Lila.
Yes, Mataji, Linda Mataji. Hare Krishna, how are you?
Hare Krishna, how are you? Yes, good, thank you.
Mama Mia, I'm waiting for somebody to get on the phone. Nobody's there today.
Uh-oh.
But I'm glad you're there.
Yeah, I'm finding that sometimes, some days that, nobody is there. And I wait 15, 20 minutes and nobody still gets on. So I just hang up. But anyway, guys, tell me about your trip. Anxious to hear.
Oh gosh, it was very nice. My husband really had a good time.
Did he?
Yeah, he didn't stay for every lecture, but he was, he sat with the devotees and took prasadam with the devotees, and he went to about 2 or 3 different lectures, and so I think he, and then we all saw the film, the Hare Krishna, what was it called? Yeah, Hare Krishna, the movie.
The movie. Oh, there's a movie. Are you serious?
Oh yes, yes.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It's like it's been out for a while, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because we saw it when my guru came a year ago. We all went to see it at the movie theater. So it's being shown in the theaters now.
Oh wow.
Yep.
And
so
it's just called the Krishna movie, or
no? I think it's called Hare Krishna. I think the man, the mantra, the legacy, the whole thing. Yeah, it's all about Srila Prabhupada and how he started the movement. It was very good. Very well done.
Oh, that would be so dear. Oh my gosh. So dear to see that.
Well, you know what? I'm going to get started, and if it's just you and me, then it's just you and me, okay? That'll be fine by me. Hare Krishna. Please accept. Who is that, Mataji? Is this the Roshali Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
How are you, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
I'm good, Mataji.
Okay, well, you know what? Since it's 8 after, I think I should get started. I'm just going to finish. We're just finishing off Canto 3, Chapter 4, and there's just 3 texts left, and then we're going to start Chapter 5, just reading the translations. Okay?
Chapter 4, huh?
Okay, so we'll get into Chapter 5, just reading the translations. Okay, I'll start with the prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganananjana Shalakaya Shakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Sva Padantikam Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Okay, so Matajis, I'm just going to finish off chapter 4. It will be text 34, 35, and 36, which are pretty short. And then we'll just read the translations of chapter 5. So, text 34. Deha nayasam cha tasyavam dhiranam dhirya vardhanam anyesham dushkarataram pushunam viklavat manan naman. Translation. The Lord's glorious acts and his acceptance of various transcendental forms for the performance of extraordinary pastimes in the mortal world are very difficult for anyone other than his devotees to understand. And for the beasts, they are simply a mental disturbance. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The transcendental forms and pastimes of the Lord, as described in Bhagavad Gita, are difficult subject matters for those who are not devotees to understand. The Lord never reveals himself to persons like jnanis and yogis. And there are others who, because of their envying the Lord from the bottom of their hearts, are classified amongst the beasts. And for such envious beasts, the subject matter of the Lord's appearance and disappearance is simply a mental disturbance. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.15, the miscreants who are simply concerned with material enjoyment, who work very hard like beasts of burden, can hardly know the Supreme Personality of Godhead at any stage due to asurika bhava, or a spirit of revolt against the Supreme Lord. The transcendental bodily expansions manifested by the Lord for his pastimes in the mortal world and the appearance and disappearance of such transcendental expansions are difficult subject matters. And those who are not devotees are advised not to discuss the Lord's appearance and disappearance, lest they commit further offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord. The more they discuss the transcendental appearance and disappearance of the Lord in the asuric spirit, the more they enter into the darkest region of hell, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 16.20. Anyone who is against the transcendental loving service of the Lord is more or less a beastly creature, as confirmed in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. So there are a couple of verses of Bhagavad Gita that I could read in here that are mentioned in the purport. And I'll only do that if we finish reading all of the translations of chapter 5, because it would just take too long otherwise. So we have a couple of topics here in the purport. First of all, that it's very hard for certain individuals to understand the Lord's appearance and disappearance at will, okay? His transcendental forms to perform his extraordinary pastimes in this mundane platform. They're difficult for anyone except the devotees of the Lord. And for beasts, we're talking about actual demons or demonic type individuals. They're just simply a mental disturbance. Now, even for devotees in the beginning, these pastimes and transcendental forms of the Lord are very difficult to understand. Okay, we all, in the very beginning of Krishna consciousness, I was like, what? How can he do this? How can he do that? We come to understand that we can't see the pastimes of the Lord as mundane. we're looking at these things, if we're looking at his pastimes and his forms as something from the mundane platform, we've missed. We're never going to we'll never be able to understand that the Lord's forms are transcendental. All of his forms are transcendental, and his pastimes are transcendental. For instance, the Gyanis, they are more interested in knowledge, okay, acquiring knowledge, speculative knowledge, or understanding God this way. The yogis are practicing different types of yoga, and the ones who are not practicing bhakti yoga, we're talking about yogis who get into these difficult bodily postures, hatha yoga and Astanga yoga, and then there's Kundalini yoga. There are so many yogas that some of these people perform. Even through that, it's very hard for them to understand the Lord, because most of those yogis don't understand the Lord as a person, okay? And the only way that we can understand the Lord as a person is through bhakti yoga and developing a personal relationship with the Lord, okay? And in that way, performing loving devotional service to him, we can understand, that the Lord is transcendental, and we can understand many things, but you cannot really discuss this with the average person. And even the Gyanis, because these could be philosophers and scientists, it doesn't matter. They don't understand the Lord as transcendental. That's those two groups are not, the Lord does not reveal himself to those groups. He's only going to reveal himself to people who are devotees of him, who can understand that his appearance and disappearance and his pastimes are all transcendental. When we think about transcendental forms, who would be able to understand that the Lord married, what was it? He had 14,000, I think, 108 wives, or was it 10,000? Could someone tell me, was it 10 or 14,000?
16,000, Mataji.
16,000, that's it. He had 16,108 wives, and he was able to simultaneously be with all of those wives at the same time, performing different activities with each one of them in each different palace at the same time. Now, if you told that to the average person who has no spiritual knowledge or understanding of the Lord's appearance and disappearance, they'll think you're crazy. So you can't, the Lord is not going to reveal himself to someone like that, who is incapable of understanding that. I mean, that's just one thing. If you take, for example, the rasa dance, again, the Lord expands himself for each and every gopi so that he can dance the rasa dance with each one of those gopis. A lot of people take that rasa dance to be sexual in nature, and it is not. It is not sexual in the transcendental sense, okay? I mean, the Lord can have sex with his eyes, or the Lord can have sex with a different part of his body. It's not done in the way we do it, okay? So there is no sex in the understanding that we have on the mundane platform. And all of these different pastimes of the Lord, I mean, he was Lord Ram, he was Balaram, he was, I'm trying to think right now of all these different names. He appeared as, he was Radha Krishna. He appears in so many different ways. Lord Chaitanya in different pastimes. So even for devotees, it's mind-blowing. And what to say of people who are non-devotees. So the Lord doesn't reveal himself to those people, and he also does not reveal himself to the envious people. A lot of those who envy God are actually considered atheists, or they're considered demonic, okay? Because what's going to come out of their mouth is going to be offensive about the Lord, any way you look at it. And, you know, unbelievers, the miscreants, and also the actual demons. So because the Lord, you know, when he comes to the world, into the mundane world, he comes, one of his reasons, of course, is to reestablish religious principles. And one of the other reasons is to destroy the demons. Okay, he smashes the demons. So it's like, oh, the demons are like, oh no, now we're being disturbed. He's appearing in the world, you know, and so envy creates this spirit of revolt against the Lord. Now, I envy the Lord, therefore I'm going to do what I want to do, the way I want to do it, and I'm not going to listen to what the Lord has to say. I'm going to do it my way. And, you know, these people abound in the age of Kali. And also, and like I said, and also the beasts of burden. And so the Lord obviously is not going to reveal himself to these people. Okay, so secondly, and I just wanted to point out one more point. Not only does he appear when he expands himself into the 16,000 Krishnas for each and every wife and performs different pastimes simultaneously, it's also a very hard thing for us people, those of us jivas living in this material world, to understand that he is appearing in all of these other planets, billions and billions of universes at the same time, okay? And performing, different activities are going on. So there's no beginning and there's no end to this. It says the transcendental bodily expansions manifested by the Lord for his pastimes in the mortal world, and the appearance and disappearance of such transcendental expansions are difficult subject matters. And if you're not a devotee, you're advised not to discuss this, okay, lest we commit further offenses. This is one of the 10 offenses for devotees, okay? We don't discuss this very deep transcendental subject matter of the Lord to people who would not be able to receive it favorably. Okay, this is something that gets discussed as we go on in Krishna consciousness. It's not the first thing that's discussed because it's extremely complicated to think about all of his bodily forms, his expansions, that he appears and disappears at will, and that he comes, when he appears in the material world, he appears with an entire entourage. He brings his eternally liberated souls with him who are coming from the spiritual world. He brings his paraphernalia. Okay, he doesn't just come by himself. He always comes with his entourage and his paraphernalia. This is very hard for the average person who has no concept of spirituality to understand. And so it would be an offense for any of us as devotees to get into such depth of subject, of discussion in the very, very beginning of discussing this with new people, because they may not have the ability to grasp who Krishna really is at first, okay? So that would be considered offensive. And anyone against the transcendental loving service of the Lord is more or less a beastly creature, okay? We're not just talking about actual demons, Prabhupada used to say, this person who is against the Lord. And we're not just talking, there's only one Lord. We're not talking about all these different, the Lord has many names. And we could be talking about the Baha'i people or the Christians, the Muslims, the Jews, the Sikhs, whatever. Anyone coming from these faiths that is against serving the Lord, because it's the same Lord, okay? They're considered beastly, excuse me, or demonic, okay? So that's basically what I believe is going on here in text 34. So I'll get into text 35 now. Atmanam chakuru shreshta krishnena manasik chitam dhyayan agate bhagavate rudoda prema vivala. Okay, translation. Understanding that he was remembered by Lord Krishna while quitting this world, Vidura began to cry loudly, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. Okay, purport. Vidura was overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love when he understood that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thought of him at the last moment. Although he thought of himself as insignificant, he was remembered by the Lord, by his causeless mercy. Vidura accepted this as a great favor, and thus he cried. This crying is the last word in the progressive path of devotional service. One who can cry for the Lord in love is certainly successful in the line of devotional service. So we understand, I wasn't here for a couple of weeks, so I got a little bit off track. But the Lord is speaking to Vidura, and I believe he's speaking to Uddhava and to Arjun, and let me see. I don't know if was he speaking to Shukadev Goswami here. I don't know that he was, but they were all there. Okay, Uddhava, Vidura, the Lord, etc. They were all talking. The Lord was instructing them, and this Vidura was so advanced. He was so was such a pure devotee of the Lord that the mood of this kind of devotee is to think of oneself as insignificant. You cannot, if you really love the Lord, you're not going to puff yourself up, okay? And he here thought of himself as insignificant, and that, oh my God, he was crying, okay, with ecstasy of love. And this is the mood that we should have as devotees as we grow or advance in Krishna consciousness, that even if this devotee, Vidura, was a pure devotee of the Lord, and the Lord knew he loved him, and he was performing pure devotional service, he thought of himself as, smaller than a blade of grass. And many of these enlightened souls consider themselves less than a blade of grass. That is the mood and that one should have. And also crying for the Lord in love. And once you get to that stage, I believe that stage would be prema, okay? You know that you've been successful in the line of devotional service. You've reached the highest level of devotional service, okay? And so, and not only do these enlightened souls in the Vedas consider themselves insignificant, but my own Guru Maharaj, he always, I've read we've all, as his disciples, we've read his diaries. And in his diaries, he always says, I'm nothing. I'm not even a piece of grass on the ground. I owe everything to you, Lord Krishna. I mean, that's his mood. I give my life to you, Krishna. That's his mood. And so, as we advance, becoming purer and purer with our chanting of the holy names, hopefully we'll arrive at that point where we can cry out of love for Krishna and say, you know, I'm nothing. It's only by your mercy that I'm anything whatsoever. And it doesn't mean you're downing yourself. It's just you're seeing yourself and your position in front of the Lord. Okay? You're seeing that you are the servant of the Lord, the servant of the servant of the servant. You are not, you know, equal to the Lord. Even though we have many of his qualities, we have small amounts of his qualities, you know. So that is what I have to say on 35. And then the very last verse, Kalindyaha Katibihi Siddha Ahobir Baratar Shaba Prapadyata Svasaritam Yatra Mitra Sutominihi. Translation. After passing a few days on the bank of the river Yamuna, Vidura, the self-realized soul, reached the bank of the Ganges where the great sage Maitreya was situated. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, fourth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. And I thought there was one other thing I was going to say about this last verse. No, I think that's it. Does anyone have any comments as we finish now this chapter 4?
Mm. Mm. Yeah. I think it's wonderful how meticulous, you know, the Bhagavatam can get, you know, describing every last detail, you know, a person's psyche.
Yes. Yes, and you know, the way I was thinking, just all these souls, these self-realized souls that are mentioned in here, we're, as devotees, we're supposed to emulate these people. We're not supposed to be them, try to be them, but we're supposed to try in our way to, how can I say, change our qualities, become more spiritualized, become more purified, so that we can understand the Lord. Because these self-realized souls, they understand the Lord and how to approach the Lord. And even, I will tell you, there was a point at which my Guru Maharaj, he was chastising me in such a way, what came out of it was that I had to realize that I was nothing without the Lord, that I had no good qualities if they were not given to me by the Lord, that any good qualities that I have, I don't care if they're personality-wise or skill-wise or beauty-wise or, I don't know, just physically and in all the different ways, that they were all God-given qualities, but I must know that, not just, you know, because even within a Christian framework, we're supposed to understand that. But to really comprehend that, we have to act that way, that we have no pretension whatsoever, that anything given to us came from the Lord.
Right. No, you got to get rid of the ego. You know,
exactly.
You got to get rid of the ego and humble yourself before the Lord. And that's the only time he'll reveal himself. You know, he won't reveal himself in a puffed up manner.
Yeah, and some people say, "Oh, well, he hasn't revealed himself to me." Well, get yourself in a position. So I remember someone who brought me to Krishna consciousness used to say, "Well, you should get yourself into the position of being worthy of being seen by the Lord. If you want to see the Lord, you better get yourself purified before you can even think about anything like that. And he can choose to show himself or not. That's up to him,
Right.
Okay, so I think we've completed then chapter 4. So does anybody else have a book besides me?
Yes, Mataji, I have.
Okay, Mataji, since there are about 50-something, let me see, how many verses in this? There's over 50. So I was going to say, why don't each of us, you and I, take 10 verses apiece as opposed to 5, because we need to have enough people. Yeah, it's 51 verses. So, one of us is going to have one extra verse. But we can switch back and forth. Does that sound okay to you?
Yes, Mataji, sure.
Okay. So now
wanted to thank you for coming back and again reading with us. Actually, I was missing you, hearing from you a lot. I was missing your conversation also very much. So it's so wonderful to hear from you again. Thank you so much.
Is this Prema Rasa? Oh, I'm sorry, Mataji. I couldn't even understand. Oh, I'm so happy to be home and, back. Go ahead, Mataji.
In fact, thinking of calling you, but I'm happy to hear you.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to hear you always. Do you have your book with you, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. I have a book too.
Okay, so then, I was going to say 10 apiece. Let's see, 3 into 50.
Yeah, we can still do 10, Mataji. It's fine. First you, Mataji, and then we can read together. It's fine.
Okay. Did you hear me on the other, did you have any comments on text 34, 5, or 6?
No, Mataji, I don't have any comments. Yeah, I thought you covered everything very nicely. Yeah, I don't have anything to share. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'll start. We're doing chapter 5 of Canto 3. Vidura talks with, how would we pronounce it, Maitreya? Or is it Mitreya?
No, Maitreya, Mataji.
Maitreya.
Yeah.
Maitreya. Okay, thank you. All right. 1. Shukadev Goswami said, Vidura, the best amongst the Kuru dynasty, who was perfect in devotional service to the Lord, thus reached the source of the celestial Ganges River, Hardwar, where Maitreya, the great, fathomless, learned sage of the world, was seated. Vidura, who was perfect in gentleness and satisfied in transcendence, inquired from him. 2. Vidura said, O great sage, everyone in this world engages in fruitive activities to attain happiness, but one finds neither satiation nor the mitigation of distress. On the contrary, one is only aggravated by such activities. Please, therefore, give us directions on how one should live for real happiness. 3. O my Lord, great philanthropic souls travel on the earth on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to show compassion to the fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord. 4. Therefore, O great sage, please give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, so that he who is situated in the heart of everyone can be pleased to impart from within knowledge of the absolute truth in terms of the ancient Vedic principles delivered only to those who are purified by the process of devotional service. 5. O great sage, kindly narrate how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the independent, desireless Lord of the three worlds and the controller of all energies, accepts incarnations and creates the cosmic manifestation with perfectly arranged regulative principles for its maintenance. 6. He lies down on his own heart, spread in the form of the sky, and thus placing the whole creation in that space. He expands himself into many living entities, which are manifested as different species of life. He does not have to endeavor for his maintenance, because he is the master of all mystic powers and the proprietor of everything. Thus, he is distinct from the living entities. 7. You may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the twice born, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely, although we continuously hear of his transcendental activities. 8. The Supreme King of all kings has created different planets and places of habitation where living entities are situated in terms of the modes of nature and work. And he has created their different kings and rulers. 9. O chief amongst the Brahmanas, please also describe how Narayan, the creator of the universe and the self-sufficient Lord, has differently created the natures, activities, forms, features, and names of the different living creatures. 10. O my Lord, I have repeatedly heard about these higher and lower statuses of human society from the mouth of Vyasadeva, and I am quite satiated with all these lesser subject matters and their happiness. They have not satisfied me with the nectar of topics about Krishna. Okay, who would like to continue?
I will. Text 11. Who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talk of the Lord, whose lotus feet are the sum total of all places of pilgrimage, and who is worshipped by great sages and devotees? Such topics can cut off one's bondage to family affection simply by entering the holes of one's ears. Dear friend, the great sage Krishna, Mataji, say that word, the payana, the payana, by, how do you say that? Vyasa has already described the transcendental qualities of the Lord in his great work, the Mahabharata. But the whole idea is to draw the attention of the mass of the people to Krishna Katha, the Bhagavad Gita, through their strong affinity for hearing mundane topics. You know, Mataji, I won't be offended if you correct me on some of the pronunciations of the words. Okay. All right.
The other, wait a minute, it was the Krishna Katha and the work, the Mahabharata. Okay.
Mahabharata.
Okay.
For one who is anxious to engage in constantly hearing such topics, Krishna Katha gradually increases his indifference towards all other things. Such constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna by the devotees who has achieved transcendental bliss vanishes all his miseries without delay. You know, and I'm not even counting. So whenever you think I've read enough, Mataji, let me know, because I'm not even counting.
No, that's okay. I mean, if you can read as many as you want, but you would be reading like 11 through 20, you know.
Oh, okay. O sage, persons who, because of their sinful activities, are adverse to the topics of transcendence, and those ignorant of the purpose of Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita are pitied by the pitiful. I also pity them because I see how the duration of life is spoiled by eternal time while they evolve themselves in presentation of philosophical speculation, theoretical ultimate goals of life, and the different modes of ritual. O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. Kindly chant all those superhuman transcendental activities of the Supreme Controller, the personality of Godhead, who accepts incarnations fully equipped with all potency for the full manifestation and the maintenance of the cosmic creation. Sukadeva Goswami said, the great sage Maitreya Muni, after honoring Vidura very greatly, began to speak at Vidura's request for the greatest welfare of all people. Sri Maitreya said, O Vidura, all glories to you. You have inquired from me of the greatest of all goodness, and as you have shown your mercy both to the world and to me, because your mind is always absorbed in thoughts of transcendence. O Vidura, it is not at all wonderful that you have accepted the Lord without deviation of thought, for you were born from the semen of Vaisadeva. Is that how it says?
Vyasadeva.
Vyasadeva. I know that you are Vidura due to cursing the Madhavya Muni, and that formerly you were King
Yamaraj.
Okay. And the great controller of the living entities after their death. You were begotten by the son of Satyavati Vashideva in the kept life of his brother.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Linda. Okay, who would like to continue? We have Prema Rasa and we have Rushali Mataji, either one of you.
Rushali Mataji, you can read and then I will read.
Okay, Mataji. Text 21, translation. Your good self is one of the eternal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for whose sake the Lord, while going back to his abode, left instructions with me. Text 22. Translation. I shall therefore describe to you the pastimes by which the personality of Godhead extends his external potency for the creation, maintenance and dissolution of the cosmic world as they occur one after another. Text 23. Translation. The personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities, existed prior to the creation as one without a second. It is by his will only that creation is made possible, and again everything merges in him. This Supreme Self is symptomized by different names. Text 24. Translation. The Lord, the undisputed proprietor of everything, was the only seer. The cosmic manifestation was not present at that time, and thus he felt imperfect without his plenary and separated parts and parcels. The material energy was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifested. Text 25. The Lord is the seer and the external energy which is seen works as both cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. O greatly fortunate Vidura, this external energy is known as Maya or illusion, and through her agency only in the entire material manifestation made possible. Uh, Text 26. The Supreme Being, living being in his feature as the transcendental Purusha incarnation, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus by the influence of eternal time, the living entities appear. Text 27. Thereafter, influenced by the interactions of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter called the Mahatattva became manifested, and in this Mahatattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body. Text 28. Thereafter, the Mahatattva differentiated itself into many different forms as the survivor of the would-be entities. The Mahatattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance and it creates the false ego. It is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and time for fructification. Text 29. Mahatattva, or the great casual truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifested in three phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material material elements, gross sense and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in three different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Text 30. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego and the mode of goodness. Completed, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So, 31. The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion in false ego. Therefore, philosophically, speculative knowledge and fruitive activities are predominantly products of mode of passion. The sky is the mode of sound, is the product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egoistic ignorance. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the supersoul. Therefore, the personality of Godhead glanced over the sky, partly mixed with central eternal time and external energy, and thus developed the touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced. Therefore, the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated the form of sense perception, and the perception of form transformed into electricity, the light to see the world. When electricity was surcharged in the air and was glanced over by the Supreme, at that time, by the mixture of eternal time and external energy, there occurred the creation of water and taste. Thereafter, the water produced from electricity was glanced over by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and mixed with eternal time and external energy. Thus, it was transformed into earth, which qualified primarily by smell. O gentle one, of all the physical elements, beginning from the sky down to the earth, all the inferior and superior qualities are due only to the final touch of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The controlling deities of all the above mentioned physical elements are empowered expansions of Lord Vishnu. They are embodied by eternal time under the external energy, and they are his parts and parcels. Because they were entrusted with different functions of universal duties and were unable to perform them, they offered fascinating prayers to the Lord as follows. The demigod said, "O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet." X40. O Lord, O Father, O Personality of Godhead, the living entities in the material world can never have any happiness because they are overwhelmed by the three kinds of miseries. Therefore, they take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge, and we also thus take shelter of them.
Wow. 41. Is there someone else who's joined? Maybe, no? Okay. The lotus feet of the Lord are by themselves the shelter of all places of pilgrimage. The great clear-minded sages, carried by the wings of the Vedas, always search after the nest of your lotus-like face. Some of them surrender to your lotus feet at every step by taking shelter of the best of rivers, the Ganges, which can deliver one from all sinful reactions. Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge. And on the strength of detachment, one becomes pacified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary of your lotus feet. O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. And therefore, we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. O Lord, persons who are entangled by undesirable eagerness for the temporary body and kinsmen, and who are bound by thoughts of mine and I, are unable to see your lotus feet, although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies. But let us take shelter of your lotus feet. O great Supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see your lotus feet, but they are seen by your pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendentally enjoy your activities. O Lord, persons who, because of their serious attitude, attain the stage of enlightened devotional service, achieve the complete meaning of renunciation and knowledge, and attain the Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual sky simply by drinking the nectar of your topics. Others who are pacified by means of transcendental self-realization and have conquered over the modes of nature by dint of strong power and knowledge, also enter into you. But for them there is much pain, whereas the devotee simply discharges devotional service and thus feels no such pain. O original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of the three modes of nature, and for this reason, we are separated in action. Therefore, after the creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasure. O unborn one, please enlighten us regarding the ways and means by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains and commodities, so that both we and all other living entities in this world can maintain ourselves without disturbance and can easily accumulate the necessities of life, both for you and for ourselves. You are the original personal founder of all the demigods and the orders of different gradations, yet you are the oldest and are unchanged. O Lord, you have no source or superior. You have impregnated the external energy with the semen of the total living entities, yet you are unborn. And the last one, I believe it is, 51, right? Yes. O Supreme Self, please give us, who are created in the beginning from the Mahatattva, the total cosmic energy, your kind directions on how we shall act. Kindly award us your perfect knowledge and potency so that we can render you service in the different departments of subsequent creation. Oh, wow. This is really heavy. Wow, this is amazing. You know, that once again, it's like we're going to be explained how everything works in Krishna consciousness, how Krishna created us out of himself, from himself, that there was no one before him, and you know, just how the energy gets let's say disseminated into the material nature. And I thought, I just wanted to make one comment. I thought it was fascinating in here that Krishna, when he created all of this, he had created the, how can I say, the, would you call it the Mahatattva? He created it, all of the material nature, all the material part of his energy. He created all that, but he felt imperfect without his parts and parcels. I had never heard that before, that he felt imperfect without that, so he created his parts and parcels. That's the first time I've heard that. And I'm trying to find where that how he worded that exactly. But it was in here, in one of the translations we were reading. So that's, you know, that's one of the comments I wanted to make. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. And that, it's interesting that he found himself in the material energy was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifested. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not finding it, Mataji, but it was in here. I know you heard it too, somewhere in here. And that, you know, and how everything ultimately gets created. The Mahatattva, the causal truth, the false ego, cause and effect. I mean, this is the world, how we came into being. It's absolutely, I don't think any other scripture quite describes it in such detail. And I think it's very, like I said, as it was explained at the end of chapter 4, it's very hard to understand that if you're not a devotee. If this wasn't explained to us, I don't think it would be so simple. For myself, I have to go over it several times, especially about the creation, to comprehend exactly how it was done. I have to hear it over and over and over because I somehow it just doesn't, it's hard for me to remember for some reason. So that's all I had to say for today, Mataji's. Anybody have any comments or want to add something? Okay, then I think we'll end.
I was just appreciating, just like Linda Mataji, that like in Bhagavatam, everything is in so much detail. Like it speaks about how the electricity came, how the water came, how the false ego, the mind, like everything, how each and every element of this universe is manifested has been given. I'm sure we'll read in more detail in the purpose. We'll find out what Prabhupada is adding to the translations. But like really, I think this is one book that has physics, chemistry, and like all the subjects that we study about is in one of this. Srimad Bhagavatam has everything. So it's just appreciating that, Mataji.
Yes,
Thank you.
Unbelievable. It just, wow, it just blows my mind every time I hear it.
Yeah.
It really does.
Actually, I heard of a devotee child who's been homeschooling at home, and just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, he finished all his credits that he needed from school, it seems. like math, English, everything that he needed, all the credits he just got from reading Srimad Bhagavatam at home. It's
Unbelievable.
Wow. That's great.
Whoa. So Krishna gave him some special mercy, huh?
Yeah.
Because to do all those subjects, and if you're reading Bhagavatam, you had to have, grasped everything. Krishna gave that to him. Wow, that's amazing to me. Just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji, that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Prema.
It's very nice to hear you both.
Very nice to hear all the devotees again.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be home, but I also love to see my Guru Maharaj as much as I want to see him as much as I can in this lifetime, before he leaves his body. I don't even want to think about it. But the point is, I know that, I will still take his instruction even when he leaves the body. Oh, I wanted to share one thing. I don't know if you all got this, but Madan Gopal Das had sent something on Facebook, and he serves my Guru Maharaj whenever, he comes to Chicago. There was a story that this one devotee, and I'm trying to think, I wish I could just pull the whole thing up for you right now because it's a long story. But this soul left his body, but he didn't listen to Prabhupada's instruction, okay? I'll have to go back and find it now. He didn't listen to Prabhupada's instruction, so it was like he was going down into the depths of hell. When he left the body, Prabhupada actually appeared to him and gave him another chance. So he couldn't believe it, that Prabhupada would remember him. And Prabhupada remembered him in the deepest depths, and sent him back, and he had another opportunity to change that karma or then do it differently. And of course, he left his body much more quickly the second time. But I thought it was wonderful to hear that the Guru is available to us in every lifetime, not just in this lifetime. And, I was just remembering that when I think of, I want to see my Guru Maharaj in this lifetime, but he will be there for me even when he takes, not only when he leaves this world, but when I leave this world, and wherever I go, he'll be there for me. And that was just, I'd have to pull it up. Maybe I should talk about that tomorrow. I thought it was pretty fascinating, because I'd have to go look it up now. I don't even know if I could find it now.
Mataji, similar I have received today in one of the groups. I can forward it in our Bhagavatam WhatsApp group.
Did you get that?
Yes,
one, Mataji?
Yes.
Was that a
story?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll forward it, Mataji.
Thank you. I can't remember where I saw it, but I know Madan Gopal Das had sent it.
Yes. I have received in one of the WhatsApp group stories, similar story you are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice.
Any other comments?
No, Mataji. Just that it went very well.
Thank you all then. I guess I'm going to get going, and we'll continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.